Hello, guys. Welcome to Semester 5 English Main Course Paper Language and Linguistics. Yes, today, addressing you in a post COVID environment, I hope most of you might have realized that today, just as in the long past, language has become an inseparable part of human society. Human civilization has been possible only through language, in the olden times as well as today. Today we communicate through technology. We use a lot of gadgets, we use a lot of apps, we use a lot of softwares. We use the Android, the tablets, the PC, the system, laptop, headsets. We can interact, we can connect with each other. But then, my personal opinion is that technology connects people, but then every conversation, every interaction seems to be lifeless. There is a dearth, there is a deficiency of warmth, affection, and intimacy, I suppose. I don't know whether you agree with me or not, but I have to admit that. Anyway, so it is through language that humanity has come out of the Stone Age and has developed since science, art, and technology. Everything has grown, advanced, reached its peak in a big way. All these were possible only through language. A language is, of course, a means of communication too, a means of interaction, a means, a medium of sharing your ideas, your emotions, your feelings, your sensibilities, everything. And it seemed to be a system of systems, and it is indeed arbitrary. And we know that our speech is primary while our writing is secondary. So, what is language? The method of human communication. You can say either it's spoken or it is written. Now I'm communicating through a spoken way of language. And then you shall listen to that, and maybe if you are jotting down the notes and the important points, you can say that you are using a written form of language. Consisting, and this consists of the use of words in a structured and conventional way. It's a system of communication used by a particular country or community. You have multitudes of definitions related to language. And some call it a structured system of communication. Some call it a medium or a mode of communication specific for a particular country or nation or community. And again, in a broader sense, it's a method of communication. Okay. Language, as defined by the English phonetician and language scholar Henry Sweet, that it is the expression of ideas by means of speech sounds. So many people, so many anthropologists, I mean, linguists, scientists who learn human behavior and humanity, they are called anthropologists. You study human beings. So, anthropologists, linguists, scholars, saints have defined language in different ways. Now, one among them is Henry Sweet. He is an English phonetician and a language scholar who describes language as an expression of ideas by means of speech sounds combined into words, and words later combined into sentences, and this combination answering to that of ideas into thoughts. Another definition of language by American linguists Bloch and Trager. You can call the combination like Bloch and Trager. They consider language as a system of arbitrary vocal symbols by means of which a social group cooperates. It's a system of arbitrary. What do you mean by arbitrary? means symbols that have no natural meaning or form. For example, I tell you this is a table. You write Table, table. Okay. And you know what a table is in reality. That is, it's a wooden structure, a flat portion will be there, and it has got four wooden legs, and it's used in order to place things, keep things, stack things. You know, it's a table. So you have written Table. Does that look like a wooden structure that has got four legs? No. You have written a script and you have the object in reality. It has nothing to do with the table. The word that you have written, table, has nothing to do with that of a wooden structure with a four legs. You have ascribed this word that if you write Table, it's called, or you pronounce it, or you sound it, table, which consists of the sounds t, a, b, the, four sounds. And in reality, it looks like a wooden structure with a flat portion, with a flat top, and four wooden legs, or whatever legs. Maybe made of wood or steel or something else. Maybe fiber or what, plastic, whatever, and this is used for that. So you are ascribing things. This is what you call by arbitrary. There is no relationship between the natural meaning or the form. That is, at the same, there is no inherent relationship between the words of language and their meaning or the ideas conveyed to them. You look at a girl and you call her a girl. Who told you she's a girl? You know, she is, the word girl is written as Girl, and you pronounce it with the four sounds g, o, three sounds g, l. So three sounds together forms girl, and you look at a feminine gender, a small girl with long hair, and her gender has been ascribed as feminine, and then you call her girl. You may call her something else. You may ascribe such meanings to that. So that's why it's called arbitrary. Vocal in the sense it's produced by, articulated by the vocal organs, the sound producing organs. And they are a system of symbols. Symbols. You have got the graphic script. You have got actions. All these are symbols. And using this system of arbitrary vocal symbols, a social group cooperates, they communicate, they connect. From the multitudes of definitions by different authors and different scholars, you have one which is one which is acclaimed universality. That is by Edward Sapir, the German-born American anthropologist, linguist, and this has been a serviceable definition, and this has stood for a lot many years. He calls language as a purely human, non-instinctive method of communicating ideas, emotions, and desires by means of a system of voluntarily produced symbols. You can see Sapir here. This is Edward Sapir. So, how does Sapir describes language? It's purely human. Do animals communicate using a language? No, it's an animal communication. You cannot say that as language. You cannot call it as Bhasha. If it has to be Bhasha, it has to be between human beings. So that's why it's called purely human. And it is non-instinctive. It is non-instinctive. That is, you feel like it's quite natural. It's unplanned. It's not planned. It is unanticipated. You feel like talking, you talk. It communicates ideas, emotions, and desires. And there you have a system of symbols. They are voluntarily produced. It's under your control. If you don't feel like talking, you don't. If you feel like talking, you talk. Nobody can make you speak other than yourself. So here goes Sapir's famous universal definition of language. And you can see Sapir here. Yeah. Now here, another name which is very familiar to you these days because Chomsky, he is not only a linguist but a renowned, popular, senior, what do you call, an expert, a very adept person in human philosophy. He's also a philosopher. Every now and then you can see him talking about and reflecting, contemplating on not only language uses, that is, he talks, he reflects, he comments on humanity. And these days he has spoken about India too, very recently, I think 26th or 24th of June, he has spoken about India, where he says that Indian democracy is falling, and this is and India confronts an impending danger, and it's youth, especially the student fraternity, who should rise to this occasion and understand this post-truth era and this post-COVID environment, and you should unleash some sort of a healthy revolution, because mainly because Indian democracy is facing some sort of a feudal, um, what do you say, a feudal dictatorial kind of regime without any feudal manifesto. You don't see a feudalism here. You can't see a dictatorial agenda, I mean, a manifesto or a document here, but this would be implemented here. So it's students' high time to rise and react to this situation. So there goes Noam Chomsky. You can have a look at Noam Chomsky here. Yeah, there you can see the young linguist Chomsky and the present, the aged one, the senior Chomsky here. And how does he define language? He says it's a set, a concrete, finite, or an infinite set of sentences, each finite, very concrete, very measurable in length, and constructed out of a finite set of elements. So here seems to be a much more serious, sophisticated, and structured kind of definition by Chomsky. So just have a look at Chomsky and just refer to Chomsky and who he is, what he is. Anyway, we will be looking at Chomsky in very detail as we move on to linguistics. Now, another person whom I would like to introduce you to is Charles Hopkins, the American linguist who has contributed considerably to linguistics, especially American. Now he features a set of designs, design features that characterize human language. How do you understand how do you understand human communication or human language from the others, from any other kind of communication? Now, in his Origin of Speech, which is his monumental work, Hockett postulates certain 13 to 16 design features of language. What he says that all human languages have got certain characteristic features in common, and linguists have identified these characteristics as defining features. You can call them design features of language, at the same time you can call them as defining features of human language, and these actually figures out or set human language are different, distinct from animal cry systems or animal communication, and these features are called design features of language. Here I have just shared a slide with you if you would like to have a glance at the features of human communication and how It stands out from animal communication or any other sort of communication. You can just have a look at the features of communication. Now, this is not what Hockett has postulated or listed out. We shall have a look at that. This, for simply for your the sake of information, I'm just sharing a slide on features of human communication in general. Yeah. Now, Hockett in 1916, his Origin of Speech, he talks about this 13 to 16 characteristic defining features of language, which distinguishes it from other communication systems. Now, if ever the system lacks even one feature from what Hockett has enlisted, it is just merely communication. You can call that system communication, but never a language. If a medium, if a mode of communication has to be declared or considered as language, it needs to have all the 13 to 16, 13 or 16. You can't say that because he talks about 13 features and then he adds a few which seems to be very specific and exclusive for human communication or human language. So in that case, if ever any particular communication has to be declared as language, it should satisfy all the criteria mentioned by Hockett. And if ever it lacks one feature, you can simply call it a communication, but never a language. Okay. Here I have shared two slides. Both are applicable. You can just have a look at it, the features of language or the design features. Both are the same, but then one is more elaborate. These are just 6 which you can always keep in your mind, easy to remember. And here you have an elaborate version of it. Yeah. So, a features of language and the design features of language is explained by Charles Hockett. First, we have a look at vocal auditory channel use. So here refers to the idea that human language, it has got or it uses a vocal auditory channel, a vocal auditory medium. That is, you speak, you talk, you use language by producing sounds, and this is through your vocal organs, and this is perceived, or the perception is through your ears, your auditory organs. So that's it. So this is why he calls it vocal auditory channel use. And then rapid fading or transitoriness. That is, it refers to the temporary quality of language. I speak to you, then there is a pause. So you can listen to my voice, you can listen to my lecture, then there is a pause, and then you can't hear. So there is a peculiar rhythm of fading of this voice, this sound. So it shows the transitorness. The language sounds, they access only for a brief period of time, after which they are no longer perceived. When I stop talking, you cannot hear. So only when I speak, you can hear it. There is a transitoriness to that. Sound waves quickly disappear when a speaker stops speaking. So that's transitoriness or rapid fading. And then you have interchangeability. It's not here, but then not interchangeability, that is, human beings can give and receive identical linguistic signals, and humans, they are not limited in the types of messages they can say or hear. For example, one can say I'm a boy even if one is a girl. So this is not to be confused with the lying. And here you have another feature called prevarication. What is prevarication? It means the ability. What is prevarication? Prevarication, it's the ability to lie or deceive. It's exclusive for human language because when using language, human beings, they can make false or meaningless statements, which uh, Yuval Noah Harari, the Israel historian, calls it as fictional reality. I tell you, there is language. I tell you, there is money. I tell you, there is love. I tell you, there is lecture class at Christ College. I tell you, the malls are open. You believe that. You believe that. I lie. I deceive you. And you believe that. Human beings has the exclusive feature. They possess the skill of a prevarication. You can tell lies. You can deceive people using language. And human beings believe this fictional reality. I show you a currency. This is a piece of paper, and this is money. Who told you it's money? And how do you measure? How do you know what is the authenticity behind the price value, the value of this piece of paper? You show a currency to an animal, you show it to a monkey, you show it to an elephant, you show it to a dog. Does it value this piece of paper as currency? No, never, because they believe in objective reality. They believe in physical reality. You give them a banana, you give them an orange or an apple, you give a bowl of milk, or you give a piece of meat to a dog. It receives. You give $100. Does it receive? No, because they believe in the physical reality. On the contrary, human beings, they believe in this fictional reality. So there it goes. Okay. So that's prevarication and interchangeability. And then you have specialization. It's a purpose of the language symbols or signals is communication and not some other biological function. Human beings speak or the sign, it's generally intentional. For example, a dog is panting. Okay, when a dog pants, it communicates to its owner that it's hot or thirsty. Sometimes the dog pants in order to cool itself. This is a biological function. An animal is panting. Maybe it's hot, it's thirsty. Sometimes it isn't thirsty. It just pants simply to cool itself. Maybe it was running and now it has stopped running. So it's a pure biological communication that takes place here. But in the case of language, language is specialized to communicate between human beings. Its purpose is communication and conversation among human beings. And then you have this arbitrariness, which I have already mentioned, which I've already explained to you, the difference, the non-logical relationship between the form and meaning. I show you a rose, you write it as R-O-S-E, but who told you that it's a flower with petals and sepals? You attribute it. So you will have to bring juxtapose and you have to implement this meaning to the word R-O-S-E. R-O-S. The three sounds, the three phonetic sounds. R-O-S. It's a rose. That's it. There goes arbitrariness, and then you have discreteness, which is not mentioned here. Anyway, all these are explained in the elaborate, detailed notes which I have given to you. I'll be giving to you. So discreteness means every sound has got its own purpose. Every sound has its own identity. But then when two sounds join together, the meaning changes. For example, S. S is a phonetic sound. Okay, it's a sound in the alphabet. It's a sound in the English language. But when I say S, sh, I communicate something else to you. I tell you keep quiet, be silent. Shh. The same S and H sound is used and they combine together, and then what happens? Another meaning, another implication is imparted, conveyed to you. That's called discreteness. Every sound has got its own identity. When two sounds join together, they convey a different meaning. And the displacement. Displacement refers to that you talk about things that are not physically present here or that don't even exist. You're talking about your friends here. Maybe they are not in class. I'm talking to you about Yuval Noah Harari. He's not here. So, temporally and spatially, the person or the object or the topic won't be present here, but then you can speak about that. That's what you call by displacement. A human being's speech is not limited to here and now. You must speak on a particular person who is present here right now. That doesn't mean that. Okay, you can speak about anything. Now, productivity. What do you mean by productivity? Creativity and open endedness. Language is a system which is open to anything and everything. Okay, language is open to any external or internal changes or factors. We keep on, you learned the 26 letters of the alphabet. Fine. And then you learned what do you say, words. Are you still ready or are you still equipped with the 26 letters? No. And then later on, you learned 44 phonetic sounds. So this keeps on producing, language keeps on producing sounds, syllables, morphemes, uh, words, phrases, clauses, sentences, connected speech, etc., etc. So it's creating, it's producing, and it's welcoming anything and everything. That was a reason why it is called open-endedness. Traditional or cultural transmission. So here, human beings, they are born with innate language capabilities. Language is more learned after birth. Okay, if a child is born into a community where no one speaks, where everyone is dumb, will it speak? No, never. It listens to the speech and then it tries to produce it. And then you have this language acquisition device inside every child, inside every human being, which is which is specialized, which is exclusive in a human being in order to learn language or acquire language. So it's culturally, traditionally transmitted from one particular society to another. You are born into a family, you use language there, and this is imparted or conveyed to your friend circle at school, and then there it is again transmitted to your college group, and then it is transmitted to your colleagues or a professional circle where you work. So this keeps on transmitting on and on. Okay. And then the duality of a pattern. So what do you mean by duality? Dual in the sense two, to a purpose. Meaningful messages, they are made of distinct, smaller, meaningful words. That is, language consists of sounds and words and syllables, which has got two purposes, or they are differentiated or they are defined in two ways or on two levels: sound and meaning. That is phonology and morphology. Human language has got two levels of interpretation. You divide a language on the basis of its sound and meaning. There are phonetic sounds, there are phonetic symbols, and at the same time they join together and they form morpheme. So the two basic minimal units of language. That's what you mean by duality. Dual, two purpose, two aspect, two levels of deconstruction or two levels of operation. You have sounds, which denotes two phonemes. That is, it's characteristic of human language. The speech can be analyzed. Human language, human speech, human talk can be analyzed on two levels. One is on phonological level, the other is the morphological level. That means one on the level of meaning and the other on the level of sound. That is, the sound that a speaker produces related to phonemes, and that branch is called phonology. At the same time, speaker uses the sounds and he produces words or morphemes which has got some sense or some meaning. So their language operates at a morphological level, that is a level of a meaning, and this is called the duality of language. And then reflexiveness. Human language, I mean, human beings can use language to talk about language. See, we are, what am I doing right now? I'm using language. I'm a human being. I'm using language in order to teach you, to instruct you on what? What am I talking about? I'm talking about language. Yes. So I'm standing within the system of language, using the system of language, speaking and reflecting on language. That's what you mean by reflexiveness. And then you have got learnability. So reciprocity is also the same thing. You can speak language, at the same time you can receive, you can hear language. You speak, you produce sound, at the same time you perceive, you can hear a sound. That's what you mean by the reciprocity. Learnability means language is teachable and it is learnable. In the same way, a speaker learns his first language, the speaker is able to learn other languages. The speaker is able to learn other languages, and it's worth noting that young children, they learn language with very much ease and competence, and language acquisition is constrained by a critical period. It becomes more difficult once children pass a certain age. So you have to teach a child a language or anything at a learnable age. You learn so many things, you're more competent, and you acquire and perceive things very fast, swiftly, rather than you achieve all these things when you are grown up. So our learning abilities are actually failing as you grow older and older. So here goes the 13 to 16 features, design features of languages mentioned as prescribed by Charles Hockett. And just have a look at it. Language is a system of systems. Be careful about that. This thing should be there in your mind. If you're pursuing your higher education, I mean, if you're pursuing a master's in English language and literature, by the time you do or work on your linguistics paper, you have a big paper on linguistics alone, not language and linguistics. Now here you're learning the aspects of language. At the same time, you are assured, you are invited into the field of linguistics, and you will be learning a little bit of everything related to linguistics. But when you go for your master's, of course, linguistics is there in detail. So keep this thing in your mind. It's a system of systems, a big system, a big universe where you have stars, planets, meteors, satellites, everything together. Likewise, you say that language is a system of systems where you have sounds, syllables, morphemes, words, and whatnot. So language and ability to communicate, it's a essential building block of human relationships, and the fundamental building blocks of the sound unit, the minimal sound unit, that's the phonemes. They join together forming syllables, and then they grow bigger and bigger in size, attaining the names of morphemes, words, phrases, clauses, sentences, etc. So every language is a system of systems. Within a system, there are several subsystems. So I hope you have a wonderful idea about what language is, the different versions, the different definitions of languages given by linguists and anthropologists. And I hope and I wish that you learn at least a few definitions, especially Edward Sappier's definition of language. Okay, for your further future reference and use, and you have gone through different characteristic features of language and how language has been operated, the duality of nature, and how you deconstruct it, how you dismantle language into the minimal units of its sounds. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Have a nice day.